So my name is Ari Palitz. I'm really happy to be here with you guys today. I actually about 3 months ago moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, from Los Angeles. When I moved and drove out in the morning, I got in my car. It was covered with ashes from the fires, and so and I've been there for a while, and always looking for a way to get out. I kind of went there on a business trip about 20 years ago, and kind of made some roots. But I was able to get out, and now I'm really happy to kind of be in this part of the country. Um, uh, I can kind of give you a little bit of a backstory. I grew up in New York City on 86th Street. In the 70s and 80s. I'm an older guy. I grew up on a street with four movie theaters, so I grew up with the movies. I grew up with entertainment. It was what I love to do. I grew up waiting on lines for Star Wars. Um, uh, you know, the experience of going to films, which has is obviously gone now, has had a big impact on me back then. And it was the Star Wars, it was the Supermans with the Christopher Reeves. It was like the never ending stories. I knew very early on that I wanted to be a storyteller. Um, uh, I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew from the movies I saw what I hope would become possible. Whether it be the Princess Leia hologram or Marlon Brando playing Christopher Reeves or Superman's father. And he was able to talk to him in the Crystal Palace, um, or just the ability to not just be in a theater, but to walk into a movie, to be a part of that movie, to be a hero. And as a little kid, that's kind of what you think about. So that's what I did. I kind of always kept that in mind. I wanted to be a storyteller. I went to uh, University of Pittsburgh, and then went to New York to New York Film Academy. Learned to shoot on film, edit film, which was really interesting. I don't think there's any way to teach that anymore, but back then it was a real pain in the ass to make an edit. Like you physically had to do it. You really had to think about it rather than, now with Premiere, you could just be like, I'm going to try 50 different things and see which one works. Um, so even now I try and look at it as film, and be a little bit more critical, I think, of what my edits are going to be. Um, but I think you guys are in an amazing position. Even though I should probably stop sharing my screen. It's like a really crazy thing to see. Um, Much better. Now I can actually look at the screen. Um, the people who I was in film school with, um, you're there getting the education, but you're forming a team. The guys who I had in like my little film crew, I'm still with them today, 20 years later. We're still working together. We're still helping each other. We're still hiring each other. Um, and after film school, they were there. My first film was a stop motion film. Um, but even then, I kind of I should have realized that I'm a bit of a I guess I don't I get easily bored with mediums, and I love mediums. I love different ways of telling stories, different technologies. So I didn't realize it then, but in this first short film, it was live action with stop motion and music and poetry and CGI, which was like really kind of new at that point. Um, uh, and so I took that and went to the festivals. My wife at the time was an actress, and she had gotten a part in a big film, and we moved out to LA to be like, all right, we'll see what happens. No, honey, I'm in the middle of something. Thank you. Sorry, I have two kids. Okay, I'm in the middle of teaching a class. Yes, can you? Anyway, sorry guys, quarantine. Uh,
You're all good.
so, yeah.
Don't worry,
So
Ari. My
yeah.
students get serenaded by steel drums every Thursday.
Okay, they're doing piano right now, and one of them is driving the other one crazy. So they like to pay it forward. Um, so yeah, so then went to LA um, and met some folks and decided to start a film company. And oh, actually, I should share my screen. I do have a funny picture of this. Um, there we go. How do you present? Yeah. Um, and we were low budget. We, we're very scrappy, and you know, and even going back to film school for a second, I remember something that somebody asked me, and it, you know, no one had ever asked me that before, and I didn't give an honest answer even. But the question was, why do you even want to do this? Why are you at film school? Why are you here? What are you hoping to achieve? Um, and I thought my answer was kind of corny, so because the truth is, what I wanted to do was to make an impact, to make a difference, to somehow make the world a better place. But I thought that was a pretty lame answer, so I probably said something like to make money or to pick up girls. I don't even know. Um, but so that has stuck with me, and I was hoping to do that with film, and the first film we were able to make, because it's hard. It's really hard to get projects made. That is going to always be true, no matter how successful you are, unless you're sitting on an amazing amount of disposable money. So the first film we did was Pit Fighter, um, which they said had more balls than Van Damme, which is high praise. I was really proud of it, and we thought we were making an art action film, but we it was we were learning. All of this is you just never stop learning. That we were able to get on a set with tons of people and blow crap up. It was fun. I didn't know if it would have an impact. I didn't know if it was going to make the world a better place. I'm pretty sure it didn't. Um, but uh, it got us solidified, got our feet wet, and sometimes you just don't know. You don't know where something is going to lead. You really don't. Uh, it was actually this day where you see the explosion that, and this was at Universal Studios, because they had opened up their doors to the independent films or filmmakers, and a whole bunch of executives came over because they're like, "What the hell is going on here? What are you people blowing up?" Uh, and we got friendly with them. We explained. I mean, it was a $300,000 budget, and they gave us offices at Universal and a production deal for. I think we were there for about 7 years. Did a bunch of independent films, um, but really was not satisfied. Let me get out of here for a sec. It's because inside I still kind of held that secret of what I really wanted to do, uh, and what kind of effect I wanted to have, an impact I wanted to make. Um, and Pit Fighter wasn't it, but some of the other ones are may have, because you never know. You also you don't know how your projects are always going to be received. You really put them out there. You put everything you have into them. Um, your heart, your soul, your mind, um, and they will connect. It doesn't matter. There's somebody out there you're going to touch, uh, and that's a guarantee. And some people are gonna hate it, some people are gonna like it. Who knows? But I got kind of tired of filmmaking and movies, um, and wanted again. I wanted to go back into other mediums. Before I went to LA and I was doing my short film, I was working with a music video director named Hype Williams, who, and this was also like the heyday of music videos. I mean, they were like $2 million music videos for Puff Daddy, and he had all the toys, and even though it was kind of analog, it was the technology, and they were playing with all the best new technologies. They had the visual effects for the Missy Elliott videos. They had the phantom cameras were doing the high speed. Um, and it was and I missed that. I miss like doing things with money and kind of, more of the stuff on the cutting edge. Uh, because there's opportunities there. There's opportunities when you're using new tools to tell new stories in new ways that haven't been done. Um, so, after I left kind of film or movies, I went back into documentaries because something happened that was also kind of different as the kind of industries evolved. And that was, I grew up in New York, and I was a filmmaker. I think at one point I even had like an ascot, like an idiot, and like wore scarves, when it wasn't cold out. I viewed myself as a creative, but I was also very cognizant of the fact that there's a really good chance that nobody will ever hire me to do what I really want to do, which is direct. You know, um, and there's a saying, "Physician, heal thyself," and I kind of interpreted it to, director, hire thyself. You know, get yourself as many tools as you can to make yourself as attractive as you can in as many ways as possible. And it did work. Even I was able to direct one of the films when we were over at Universal. Um, and it wasn't the kind of film I wanted to direct. It was essentially a comedy version of Pit Fighter. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to leave that as well. Is that that you're not always going to have there's certain industries, positions, etc., where you don't get the ability to do what it is you want to do. It's contingent and dependent upon so many other things, so many other people, money, distribution. It's like you have the creatives, and they have these ideas, and they have these dreams of these films and stories, and then you have the money, you have the suits, and there was always this kind of battle between the two. Um, but when I left film, there was the interesting thing that was happening is that a lot of the suits, the brands, the people with money were looking for new ways to connect with their audiences, and they were putting a lot of money and resources into documentary. It was kind of like this birth of like branded content, and it was really exciting that all of a sudden, we're able to tell these stories with you know filming digital and graphics and VFX and CGI, uh, and Sony's going to pay for it. Intel's going to pay for it. They have these brand halos. And all of a sudden, kind of like this battle between the suits and the creatives was starting to go away. They were kind of starting to play together, if you will, and respect each other, and give each other the freedoms that they needed. Um, so I started doing that for years, and I loved it. Up until, well, not up until, and then I met a guy named Chris Milk when I was doing a lot of commercials and branded stuff for a company called Radical Media, and he was a music video director as well. He had done a lot of stuff with U2 and Kanye, and and he was doing the same thing. He was a technologist, but like a younger one. Um, and they sent me this deck uh, for me to look at, and I couldn't understand it at all. I couldn't understand it one bit, and it was for a project called The Wilderness Downtown. I read it 500 times. I don't even think I understood it fully until I saw it. But there's this great story about Alan Ladd where George Lucas comes into his office to pitch Star Wars that has been turned down by every studio. And Alan Ladd also said, because I didn't understand a word he was saying. He was talking about these different languages and droids and whatever. He goes, but I knew he was brilliant, so I gave him the money. So it was the same thing when I saw that deck. I was like, okay, this is absolutely brilliant. I'll do whatever I have to do. I'll do, I won't sleep, to make sure that this vision, comes to fruition. And it was a hard shoot. It was very demanding. There's a real vision there that everyone got on board with, and the end result was great. I remember, my father's from Brooklyn, and he was a hard man. Um, and I remember showing it to him, and he got emotional because it took him back to his childhood. It stripped away everything that had happened between the moment he was a kid and kind of like, the more rugged and jaded man he had become. It just reduced him. And I saw that power, and I was just like, we're on to something here. Um, I did another project with Chris called Rome, which again, this was all with WebGL, but it was combining live action and CG and the web, and but but it was also interactive. This one, you were using your mouse to control the camera and look around in about 180 degrees. But he was expanding things. He was starting to expand the picture. Uh, and then he did another project called Hello Again, which was the first 360 video I had ever seen with Beck. Um, and I didn't work on that one, but when I saw it, I quit. I quit everything else. As soon as I saw VR, I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. I'm in this theater. And Beck is right here on stage. I'm now on stage with him, or I'm seated here. You could jump between numerous locations. It was in the round, and there was 100-piece band um, uh, encircling the audience and Beck, and you could hear the spatial audio. And that was it. So I told Chris that I was quitting, and uh, I would do what I did, when I first started out, like as a PA. I was like, if I got to get coffee, whatever I got to do, because I don't understand it. I don't understand this medium. I don't know how you tell stories in it. I don't know how you shoot it. I don't know how you edit it, but I want to figure it out. So the uh, the next project he was doing was with the UN, and they sent out a guy who works for the UN to Jordan, to a Syrian refugee camp, with a GoPro rig, with like, I think it had 8 cameras that they had stitched together, um, and the footage was going to be, they were shooting it, shortly, and then they were going to send the footage to LA, and he's like, come in and let's try and figure out how to put this thing together. Um, and that project ultimately became Clouds Over Cedra. Um, and at that time it was early. We had screens. We didn't know how to stitch yet. We didn't know how to do it in stereo. We just had like 4 frames up on a screen, that kind of represented it, and we were, trying to just figure out, how to tell this story in 360 with the material we had, and then make it in 3D. And I at that time, my daughter, who just interrupted, um, that uh, I didn't know if like VR would have like a bad effect. I'm like, I was pretty sure you shouldn't be strapping those headsets on 5-year olds, but I thought it was a a worthy experiment anyway. Um, and obviously that's why now she interrupts me because I've somehow warped her brain. Um, but I showed it to her, one of the earlier or later cuts, just to get her opinion, to see what would happen. It's like I saw her as like being one of like the first kids to like be in 360. Um, and she sat through the whole thing and she was looking around, and when it was done, she took off her headset and I was like, well, because I thought we had changed the world. And she goes, yeah, it was really cool, and walked out. Um, and I thought it was dead. I thought VR was dead. I actually started, I didn't think the medium would take off. I was really depressed. I started working in live entertainment, doing, projection mapping for some projects, and doing uh, uh, some installations with Miguel, who's a performer. Kind of like these experiential things, because I kind of caught the bug for uh, not just passive viewing, but for experiencing content. But I didn't like it because it didn't last. Um, Months later, I was in the car with my daughter and taking her to school, and she asked me, hey dad, how's that girl? I go, what girl? She goes, don't you remember? It was a while back. I was sitting in a classroom with her. I was sitting next to her, and she raised her hand and asked the teacher a question. And then I was at her tent, with her family, and they were eating. And it dawned on me that, she was talking about clouds over Cedar, but that she wasn't talking about it um, like something that she viewed. She was speaking about it from memory, and she was concerned how that girl was. She was worried about her. Is she okay? How's she doing? Um, it had become like a memory to her, that she remembered being there and experiencing it. And then I was like, okay, I'm back in VR. This is what I want to be doing. And from that point on, it was uh, looking at ways to, new ways to tell stories with that medium. Again, the brands showed up again, which was really good, so that we could, continue to do it, because it was also expensive at that time, because we, had to build things and develop things. But Apple came in to do a U2 music video. GE came in to do a series. We continued to do them with the UN. And again, I got to direct again. Once I figured this out, and I was confident enough to do it. I did a project with the USC Shoah Foundation where we went with a Holocaust survivor, and now we were doing sick stuff. Now we were in walk around VR, where we went with a survivor to a camp, concentration camp in Poland, and we filmed him uh, in the location, and we did photogrammetry of the location, and put the two back together so that you're there in the camp, and he's taking you around, and he's sharing his experiences from when he was 11 years old. Um, and what they did, the Shoah Foundation, which I think today even still has the largest archive in our country, because they've been archiving Holocaust survivors' experiences. About 10 years ago, they started creating an AI to make those interviews that they captured with a special technique, to make them interactive using AI. Because they were afraid that, it's not enough just to document these stories. There's something very, very powerful about being able to interact with these survivors, to speak with them, to hear their story from them, and to make a connection with them. Uh, so when I came, the with the last goodbye, which was the Holocaust VR project we did, they connected it with uh, this experience. It was called New Dimensions, where when you came out of the VR experience, the gentleman who is in our experience is there on a screen, and he's waiting to talk to you, and you could talk to him any day or night, and you can ask him. I mean, he has 25 hours of interviews, uh, uh, of material, of conversations that you can have with him. So it's very hard to not get an answer. Um, and what was interesting from that point, we played with more mediums with Paul Allen created the Hollow Dome because he hated VR. He didn't want to put a headset on, so he created a dome with projections, and we did a music video for that. But it doesn't have the same power. Um, uh, you know, and in these experiences, there is an abstract approach to things, and then there is, how do we get it photoreal? How do we get the fidelity up? Um, how do we make this feel real, like life? And that's and that has kind of created, I think, one of these other new beautiful relationships in this industry we're all in, which is, first it was like the battle between suits and creatives, um, and then now you have this new marriage with technology, and creativity and industry. Um, you we can push the boundaries, and we do, but oftentimes, if you don't have either somebody who really understands the technology, you can get into trouble. Um, in order, I think today, in order to have any kind of creative credibility, you need to have some kind of technological knowledge. And it's great. It's you know, it's not like, you know, creativity is infinite, but it does have limitations. And if you don't know what the limitations are, which are dictated now by technology, man, much of the time, if you don't know what the limitations are, your projects are going to fail in some way. Um, you're going to either not achieve what you wanted to achieve, um, because maybe you shot too short, or maybe you shot too far and it didn't come out how you wanted to, or and you weren't able to prepare for that in order to get your story. But the more um, and not that you necessarily, unless that is kind of what your passion is, to really be on the box and to be creating, um, and that is your vice, for your future. But even then, it's like to know what is going on around you, to know as many different facets as possible, to make to hire yourself. um and one of the latest projects I did, we ran into that problem as far as kind of the limitations, with the one where with called the March, with that we did with Time magazine and the MLK estate. We said, okay, we want to put the viewer in the march. We want them to be in the middle of 250,000 people walking down Constitution Avenue, and then up to, right up to Dr. King, uh, 5 feet away, and no uncanny valley. We don't want anything to be weird about it. And the company we worked with was like, let's do it. It was, everyone had these great expectations, and they didn't. And even though some should have known better, they didn't manage them. And we caught ourselves in a bad place at a bad time, and are now still working on it, redrawing. Um, and we'll eventually get there, because, you know, some projects are never done, they're abandoned, and then some you just can't abandon until they're done.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at now. Um,
Hey,
uh,
Ari, can I
yes,
ask a question?
yes, ma'am.
So I'm curious about this, on like kind of breaking this down. How many people work on projects like this? And when you say like you need to know technology, like what are the different roles and how much of technology do you need? Do you need to be the expert in there? Like what has been can you like take one of your
Yeah,
projects and tell us
yeah.
what your role was and how you worked with others? Because this is
Hmm.
probably one of the first times my students, there's 30 of them here, they've been broken in half. They're working in teams of 15, probably the biggest team they've worked on, and they're trying to figure out roles, who does what.
Hmm.
So I'd be
Right.
curious to know like what are the different roles that you've worked on, and then I know a
Yeah.
lot of other students have questions too.
Yeah, I know. I told you I'm verbose. I've been
Oh no,
like
no
you caught
worries.
me on a bad week. You should see the emails I've been writing. So looking at, I mean, we can take the march. Um,
Yeah, that'd be great.
there was, and I know this one is similar to what you guys are doing, where it really is multifaceted. We had, much like that interactive technology, we had a team that was doing that, like that AI, which is now called Storyfile, which is a company I've now joined. So there was a team doing that, but ultimately at the top you need somebody. There was the director, and we actually ended up bringing on a second director as we really started to develop it because, you know, we had one director who had the vision but didn't have the technical knowledge. Um, so we brought in another director who did have a little bit more grounding in game engine and technology, so that there could be that management, at the top. And then we partnered with a digital domain, um, and Time Magazine. So we had teams doing all, at Time doing all the research and archival and giving the assets that we, collecting the assets that we needed, to feed, digital domain to create these environments and the people and the demographics. My role was, so I was the lead producer of the entire exhibit. So I was in charge of the VR, the AI, um, and the physical installation as well that we'd be putting into the museum. And so I was trying to help, uh, manage the creative. Was it Lauren Michael says a good producer knows how to curb creativity. Um, so I was trying my best to do that, but continue to push it, um, and bring all of these elements together. That it becomes not just this piecemeal thing, but that when somebody comes in, there is a experience, that it is a journey, that there are different levels of immersion, um, and that it's cohesive. Uh, so bringing all those people together, and then working with Digital Domain, they have their creative directors, their producers, their developers, their engineers, and you have this great big studio with motion capture in LA, but you also have teams of people in London, in Bangalore, that you never see. Um, and with this kind of technology and what we were trying to do, it was tough to schedule. And we had a scheduler, but you know, things were showing up late. We were finding bottlenecks. We were finding, okay, we conquered a limitation over here, but now Unreal has its own limitations. So now we have to degrade certain. So it was, there's lots of things. And then when there's a problem that the technology can't fix, you have to go back to the creative and go, it's not working. We push too far. Um, we need a creative solution that actually does work within the limitations. And then you have to, kind of redraw rather than coming. And even I was guilty of it. Like I wasn't, I wasn't 100%, proficient in Unreal. I'll always blame myself that I didn't catch it, before the creative director or the lead technical director, and there were multiple. There were some for the environment. There were some for their digital human team. But we were trying to bring it all together, and that hadn't been done. And they're film people, so they're also coming at it from also like a CG thing, perspective. They did Thanos. Like we were able to get, they got the job because they were like, oh yeah, we did Thanos, and we're like, we did Thanos. We went to the King Estate, and we're like, we got the guys who did Thanos, to do your father, and they're like, great, Thanos. But that's film. It doesn't fit in a VR headset. That the creation of those assets, they don't. It's not one to one. And those are the kind of things that I've now learned, and we kind of all learn together, unfortunately. Yeah, that's my answer.
That's great. I talk often with students about that each medium has affordances and that they have strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities.
Hmm.
I'm feeling that this year with augmented reality. I'm doing a big eighth wall project, and
Mm.
the animation we did, we're just having to reduce polygons over and
Yeah,
over and over again. So even if you're running something like you can't catch it all because you're just
yeah,
trying to find something new. Okay, we've got a
yeah.
line, so you can see that they're coming up to the podium. So I think Zane's walking up to the podium first.
Oh, let me. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, how you doing, man? Yep, all
Thank you
good.
so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I had a quick question about the experience where you're interviewing the AI. Uh,
Yes.
as a storyteller, are there specific techniques that you use, maybe that weren't the person themselves, to like guide them in certain directions, or like was the experience guiding them to learn specific things, or was it more
Hmm.
just like open dialogue?
Yeah. So there are techniques. Um, because it's not like a normal interview that you ever do. It's not like, okay, so look over here to the camera, look at me, or look in the camera, and include the question and your answer. The effect is really to to try and replicate a natural conversation. And you don't know when somebody is going to answer, ask a question. So there's certain things that you need to avoid with the pronouns. Like, you can't be like, so I was talking to her. Like, we don't know who her is if that's the first question. So it's like to always kind of, to be using people's names, to never say things like, like I said before. Because again, what's that? What if that's the first question I've asked you? I have no idea what you've said before. Um, so there's a few techniques and kind of rules like that. Um, and obviously getting back to first position if continuity is important. But then you can start having some fun with it. For there's somebody that we're working with now, or a couple people who I'm really excited about because this is a new medium. This is like the new evolution of the great oral tradition of storytelling. And to date, we've been doing it with people who have amazing lives and experiences, and their stories need to be preserved. We just did a bunch of people from the Freedom Riders. We just did Andrew Young. Um, uh, we just interviewed two people from the last two living survivors from the Tulsa race riots, 106 and 104-year-old. But now we're getting a couple entertainers who are master storytellers, like masters. And the conversations, and now we're starting to go, well, you know what? You know, before the way that we do it is we kind of say, you know what, your answers need to be kind of have like a beginning and a middle and an end. Let's not do that anymore. Now let's take people on a journey. Let's branch it. Let's in the middle of a great story, stop. So that I'm just like, we did one with this guy. He's an actor. His name's Gianni Russo. Uh, and he was like in The Godfather, and he's like a real mobster. He played Carlo. Uh, and he tells this great story. He's like, yeah, and he goes, so I was dating Marilyn Monroe, but I had to take a date. I had to leave a date early because I had to go deliver a package to this guy. Um, I had to go deliver this package to this guy, which a few days later, that guy killed a president, and then that's the end of it. And you're like, so teasing people and just hooking them so that they're not sitting there going, oh, what should I ask this person, but that you're actually setting them up. And he did that over and over and over again. He's like, and then he goes, that's how I met, John Gotti. And then you're like, what happened when you met John Gotti? And then it'll end it and be like, he goes, and that was, and that led to the first time I punched out a tiger. So that's, yeah.
That's so fascinating. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I was just mentioning I've had some fun playing with the app for a few days, and I was just curious, with the plans, are you thinking this might become more like a social media platform, or are we intending this to be allocated solely for like education or like, as you said, the future of oral tradition?
The answer is yes. We are looking at it in a few different ways. One is as a new social media platform, as a way for people to capture their stories and to connect with other people. Um, Again, my daughter, my little, tester, I did one with her when she was 9 years old, or 8 years old. And I have um, this vision that one day she'll have a 9-year-old daughter who's going to talk to her when she was 9 years old, and be able to track her throughout her whole life. So we are going to be releasing, you guys have seen the beta of the app. It's under construction. We're going to be releasing it. We're going to be also putting out a product where people can record their own with their phones. So you can go and record your students. You can record your grandparents. I was fortunate enough to, 2 years ago, my father passed away, but that functionality, the kind of proof of concept of that ability where the app is has questions on it came out like a few days earlier, and I was able to do like 80 questions with him. And every once in a while, I check in with it. So there's the social platform. There's the ability to empower everybody to be able to do this on their own, to empower businesses to do it for whatever needs they have, and then also to bring it into XR so that it's in game engine. We're almost done with that, so that you can one day have your AR goggles on and pull somebody up in your living room and talk to them.
Sweet. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Right on.
Have you had to confront or address ethical concerns, like people considering like, oh, well, this is someone's voice who is now passed away? How have you all had to address that?
Yeah, it's what's interesting about the origin of this technology is that it did come out of USC Shoah Foundation, and as a result of that, there's already kind of especially in Storyfile, and Storyfile's founder is currently the executive director of Shoah as well. They've started this company with the same principles of not using AI, or at least creating a platform where AI is not being used to alter or augment something that people have said, or to make an avatar out of them. I spoke with an agent a while back, of a famous soccer player, and I was telling him this whole thing, that authenticity and preservation and legacy is what's important to us. He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm so not interested in that for my client." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Excuse me." He goes, "The guy's old, but in like 20 years, he's gonna be dead, and I want him at the World Cup telling people, where the bathroom is." And I was like, "All right, well." So to answer your question, I have encountered some ethical problems, but they weren't ours, I think. Um, but you are going to have that, whether it be with the deep fakes and just trying to do things right. We do have a project right now where we're working within a state, and they are open to doing this, and we're going pouring through transcripts and interviews and making sure that the things that he said and that we're going to make him say again, he said, we are going, and this is what was also really helpful, working with Time. they also have those same standards, where kind of that journalistic integrity. So, we're going to see a lot of people not doing it. We are endeavoring to, you know, hit the mark as much as we can. Oh, yeah, there you are.
Hey, I just had another question. This is actually more about your work in music videos and that side of production. I'm just always so curious how brainstorming or creative vision is kind of established for something like that. It just seems like there seem like such abstract pieces of art, and I'm sure that there is a lot of direction put into them, but I'm not exactly sure how to.
Yeah. So whoever the recording artist is, they'll either have a director or a creative director if it's a live performance that they work with. But oftentimes they'll also open it up to other directors, other creative directors. They'll say, I have a performance at the Grammys, or I have this music video, and the directors will then write treatments. And some of the directors I've worked with, they'll have, partners that will help them kind of create the vision, like Chris and Milk and Aaron Copeland. And then some there's a guy a creative director, like Willow Prone, who has a team of people, who will help him kind of come up with that creative and help him find images or other examples of things that are similar to what it is their vision is. But ultimately it comes down to those kind of two things, and that is, your point of view. And that's what, gets sold, and you being able to present it visually in a way that attracts the artist. And, it used to just be on paper, but, with photos and writing up the treatment. But, now it can be a previs if you're able to do that. And it can be lengthy, but the artist will send out the song, or the label will send out the song to different people, and then it's on that director to ultimately come up with that vision and direct it and then pitch it. And it's the same thing for commercials. A brand has a product, and they have their own creative, and then they want to see what other directors created, take on their creative is, how they would execute it in their own way.
I have a quick question, I guess. It's like whenever you do, you have like a idea, or like you have a film, but you have certain content you want to make. But how do you decide like which medium you want to use? Kind of like for the some of your work is like a AR VR or like 360-degree video, and some of them are not, and some of them are more interactive. Like, how do you decide which medium you want to use for that kind of content?
Yeah, it's such an excellent question. Because there have been times where, we're talking about a project that we're going to do, and the question is always, and it's one of the first questions, is why? Why does it have to be this medium? Why does it have to be VR? Why does it have to be sixed off? And a good example of that is actually the MLK one. Where 360 is great if you need like higher fidelity, and there's not a lot of interactivity, but that the world around you that you are immersing this person in, that you want to have more controls over it. It's like people still have agency, but a little bit less in 360. And if you're going to give a person agency, for what reason? Why does somebody need to walk around? And if they do, where are they going? Is there a real reason? When we were doing the planning, to put somebody in the, on Constitution Avenue during the March on Washington. We gave them a certain amount of space for them to walk, but why are they going to walk? What's important? We wanted them to walk. We wanted them to feel like they were a part of that march. It's like, it's like being a protester and sitting on the side and watching people protest, or am I protesting? Am I in on the street and walking? And, so, we were using spatial audio to get people to walk, and we were trying to lead people, off in the distance, like ahead of you, there's a kid holding a magazine, and these are all based on actual photos, and music from the day. We were actually able to get real interviews, audio interviews that had just been uncovered, and we placed those with certain people in different places. So when you get closer, you're actually hearing real conversations. Now you can't do that in 360, or you can, but you have to move somebody. But yeah, ultimately it's, does it benefit the project? Why? In the same for AR. Does it connect me more with the material for it to be in my room? Does it transform the world that I live in, or are you just placing something? And a lot of it comes down to, I think, envisioning what people are going to feel when they take off that headset or the goggles or the lights come on in a movie. You can't always 100% nail it, but what is it that you want them to feel? And is that medium the best way to achieve it? Because that's what's great about movies, is when the lights come on. That's what's great about VR, when they, that moment when they realize that they've been transported somewhere, and that you took them to the right place. Yeah.
That helps a lot.
And just so you know, Ari, a lot of these students are in the advertising school, so they're going to be the people in talking with brands and trying to convince them. And I'd be curious to hear also of, like, how are they going to be that unique person in an agency or connecting to brands that can convince them that this is the space to pay attention
to? I was on a panel once with at Tribeca with Chris Milk, and it was being led by the owner of Droga 5, which is a big agency. And this was years ago, and we were talking about advertising and VR. And Chris, the first thing that he says, like, it's way too early. Like, back then, everyone's like, VR is the next big thing. Everyone's going to be throwing their TVs out of the window. Everyone's going to be, have cardboards, stuck to their heads. But, he also said that he was afraid of of advertisers. And it was funny to say this to the guy from Droga, because he's like, it can be used for evil. Because what and Chris gave the whole TED talk about,
love to make a
VR and these immersive technologies being the empathy machine, which people then attacked. But when done well, when done correctly, you are, and when people have that agreement, like when you go into a movie theater and you hand them that ticket and they rip it, you are having an agreement that there's going to be a suspension of disbelief. And it's the same thing. They put on a VR headset, they are becoming vulnerable. And how you care for people in that space, how you lead them and introduce them to whatever it is, whatever that world is that you're creating in those characters, there is a trust, and there was that fear, that, advertisers would abuse it. That they would have people in this vulnerable space, which is what they would always want. Great. We have a direct connection to their hearts. Let's sell them a candy bar. So some of the things that we've done with it, like, we did a series for GE called The Possible. And it was 5 films about different people doing technology, and each one, and it had nothing. They were like, we don't want you to say anything about us. The same thing, we did something with Traveler for Google, where they're like, we don't want you to say anything about us. But what they did with the GE thing, which was really interesting, is it was about young people using technology in interesting ways. And then at the end of those films, there was a commercial. But the commercial was in the same vein, showing something that was really interesting, using VR in an interesting way to show how one of their products can be used, but in an entertaining way, in a non-offensive way, one that entertained. But I think in selling projects to brands, it's can you use the technology to really entertain somebody and just blow them away? And VR and AR is great for that. Is there a way that you can connect with people in an honest way? And that's a little bit tougher, but when I think brands are definitely getting better at being like, okay, yes, we sell things, but what do we stand for? And telling that story. We did a project for Tom's, the shoes. We did another one for Charity Water. And it's great for philanthropic organizations. Clouds Over Cedra. Ultimately, I mean, it is a film, it is an experience, but UNICEF took it out to raise money. The UN showed it at Davos. And when they showed the film, they raised $3.8 billion for Syrian refugees, which was a 70% increase from the year before. So it does have a power, and it can be used for good or not. So if you can find the good, I think that's a good way to sell it. Or just blow people's face off and just give them an experience that is just mind-numbing. We did one for Intel called the Summit, which was a sales tool for VR, and we put them on a climbing a mountain, and it was really interesting. But then at the end they showed like how it was for a product, and then you're kind of like wah, wah, but okay, thanks for the experience of climbing a mountain.
Oh yeah. I was gonna ask that it's more like an advertising side of a question, that if you have an immersive project or kind of like a film or something you have done, but it's like there, but how do you get people to know about it? Like it's there, you create it, and now like what? How do you get people to kind of like know about this project? Do you guys have like a advertisements, or like is it like going along with certain movies? So it's like people know about this kind of like a trailer of the movie, or it's like other experience? I just curious, how do you really get people to know about this project? It's kind of like we are working on the Eyes on the Sky project, but then we need to like market to other people to know about this project. It's a certain ways like you guys do this.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of when I look back on all the different mediums and genres that I've kind of had, and I kind of take from them. There is, from the film days, it's do you have a name? And it's like, and I was always annoyed with that. I'm like, why do I need a celebrity? Why do I need a name? I have such a great idea, and but that is one thing. when we did the MLK project, they were like, MLK is the name, but you know what? Viola Davis is also looking to tell these kinds of stories. If you bring her in, that's going to help. You know, it also didn't hurt that we had Time Magazine. We hired a publicist. You know, there's the publicist that we worked with. You know, also tried to kind of mirror the film industry, and it's like going to the festivals. You know, there was a project called Spheres that she represented, and all of a sudden you saw that in the trades and the announcements in New York Times that it had been sold. Somebody bought it, you know, and they were going to be distributing it, and they bought it at Sundance. You know, there are the other trades, you know, you know, but it's, you know, it's kind of preaching to the choir a little bit. You know, there is social and getting the word out that way. And yes, we absolutely are cutting trailers for projects. You know, I do like crowdfunding because you're not just getting money from people, but you're creating supporters. You're creating a base of people who are rooting for you, rooting for the project, even if it's $1. It's in their mind. They're talking about it. They're looking it up. You know, that they've donated. You know, and again, you know, with partnering with brands is a big help. You know, with again with the MLK project, we partnered with American Family Insurance, and you know, it matched their Dreamers initiative. So they, you know, did a huge campaign with it. So, you know, even if it's small, you know, just finding, I think, people of like minds, um, and trying to get them involved. You know, another thing. So I'm working on a project with the 9/11 Museum for the 20th anniversary. Um, you know, and one of the big arguments I think with immersive media, and it came after Chris did the, you know, the empathy machine uh, conversation, was, you know, people were like, great, okay, you know, you've got me feeling, but now what? You know, and there were like angry articles like, okay, so what are you gonna do? You know, you've got me crying at Tribeca, now what? You know, so it was this empathy into action. You know, how do you, you know, and they're not wrong. You know, it's like, okay, what we do, can we accept responsibility for it? We should accept responsibility for it. If we're trying to do something that has an impact or educate something, we need to find out, you know, what's next. What can somebody do with these feelings, or if we've activated them? You know, if they've gone through the March on Washington VR, and now they feel empowered, like you did when you were at the March on Washington or at a protest. So when you come out of that experience, there are posters and things for you to sign up with, you know, modern day causes. So finding anybody who, you know, is a good partner, and it could be big or small, you know, getting people to be behind your project and your vision because it matches their vision. You know, and even for your project, you have Eyes in the Sky. There's, you know, a lot of people, and they're gonna, you know, help give money, but you know, money is just the beginning of what we really need from these people. You know, we want their belief, and we want their support, and we want them to be our publicists as well, and we want to, you know, further their cause, and you know, rising tide, you know, raises all ships, or whatever that saying is.
Oh, it's totally right. That's awesome, Ari. Thank you so much. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ari. Have a
All right.
great night.
All right.
Thanks, class.
Thank you. You too.